And there are so many things going on, and it really doesn't matter. It's important to me, everybody who is here today, and all the work, Miss Sharon and Bruce and Sue, and there are a couple of Sharons, and both of you have done a great thing. So thank you. And I'm sorry I started calling names, because everybody in this room has touched my life in one way or another. And I hope, if you do not live in the Callands-Gretna district, then, and you can't vote for me, then tell somebody, because you probably live right across the street from people who can. Right. And so, it was the most difficult thing for me to figure out what was Callands-Gretna. Where are the lines? Because it's all, what is it? Gerrymander. Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Remember how we did those parent empowerment dinners? Mm-hmm. And how good that was to get people, you just have that speaker that comes. All the parents came out. We used to have so many parents come out. Mm-hmm. Just different speakers, authors, the congressmen came, and the parents all get together, the kids go to separate classes. But the parents, and there was always good discussions about the kids when we had those.
And see that, and she's talking it was another different district, but that can be done. You just have to show the need, and the people in charge have to see that it is important. Everybody says, when children are acting up, everybody says, well, it's their parents, or it's a home, or whatever. And I even had a superintendent tell me that when I first came, and I worked at the radio station, and Sister Truth said, it was a former superintendent, but she says, Anita, he's here early. Will you babysitting for me? I said, sure. So we're talking, and then I asked, tell me about your parent participation program in the district. He said, well, we work with the Head Start and preschool parents. They have to come to the meetings. Yeah, those are mandated meetings. And so I said, but beyond that, he says, well, no. And I said, you don't have parent education programs and for the others? He says, no. And he said, our job is not to teach the parents, our job is to teach the children. Because, some of those children come from all kinds of homes. And I'm thinking, you're saying that means you don't care. Your job, if you know what kind of homes they come from, your job is to fix it. So that they're not coming from those kind of homes, and the teachers won't have a difficult job. Think about this. Think about a child's sphere of influence from the time he or she wakes up in the morning until the time they get to school. Yep. We are a sum total of every experience, everybody we speak to, everyone that we touch, or they touch us. We take some of that with us for the rest of our lives. So think about it. When a child wakes up in the morning, they might hear yelling, they might hear a type of music that is negative, they might leave the house being yelled at, they might go right outside, and the bus driver, they'll see the bus driver. That could be a good experience, it could not, whatever it is, the bus driver, a police officer, other students, the other teachers, somebody, all this, everything, all of that comes in the classroom and sits down. And the teacher really has to, a good teacher is going to have to peel through that to get to that student. And so, and I know this, and I would, with my children, I'd always say, learn something, give me a hug, and then I'd guilt them if they were too big to hug. You don't want to be sitting on the front row of my funeral saying, last time I saw Mama, I didn't even hug you. And then they come on back, give me my hug. One morning, I decided, I'm a preacher's kid, my kids I decided I wasn't going to be like my parents. I was going to let my children listen to the kind of music they wanted to listen to. you know, they were James Brown, that blues music. No. And I let them play. They were playing before all the cussing and everything started happening. Once that started happening, I started ripping up the cassette tapes. But I let them play that music, and they'd come in the house, and it was kind of like I had a little headache going, but I didn't know why. And then I would, you know, I hollered at my child because I said, "Did you do your homework? You don't have your homework? Why didn't you do this?" And I was doing all that, and then I told him, you know, learn something, you know. And he went to, before he got to school, he hit a little girl. He got to school, and the teacher said he was cutting up in the classroom. And I thought, I did that. I did that. I did all that, like I was saying, the spirit, I did that. So what I started doing, because I got up before they did, I put my music on. It was soothing. Everything was easy. It was, you know, it was the old way, you know, and then when they leave out, it was easier. And so little things like that, that parents need to know. And then even new teachers, you know, new teachers, there's a lot that they're not taught. And I think the school board has a lot of influence in that. You know, the school board is supposed to, the members are supposed to give ideas to the superintendent, give him directives to bring back information. A good superintendent is already out there gathering up things, you know, new ways, and giving that information to the school board for approval. And I'm just saying that because I've heard that the superintendent tells the board what to do, and that can't be. And then when I heard that, I said, no, that's not how it goes. And then this is the Commonwealth, or this is Virginia, or this is the way it is, or this is the way it's always been. But if it's not supposed to be that way, then somebody is supposed to step up and not be afraid to say how it's supposed to be. And that somebody happens to be me.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
So as we thank you, and as I come to a close, unless there's some more questions, I think yes.
Yes, I'm having an issue with when there are children that are entering to school as pre-K and K, if they're having a hard time adjusting or learning, some of the teachers are finding it easier to say, oh, this child needs to be on medication. That just boils my blood, because not every child needs to be on medication just because you feel like they're unteachable.
Okay.
Amen. Yes.
Amen.
Yeah.
So there are teachers that either they think about they're not getting paid enough to do what they're doing, or they just don't want to take that little bit of extra time, or maybe where you implement more help for the teachers to give some of these children extra help instead of medicating them. There are so many small children on medication that really don't need to be.
And again, parent education. You know better. But I know, and teachers in the room tell me, and this is how I've always known it to be. If a school says your child needs to be on medication, then the school has to pay for it. And has to pay for that because the school directed you to it. And that's the rule. But again, if there's behavior modification in place, but the teachers need the teachers need to be taught, and like you say, the teachers need more support. Am I correct? I'm looking at teachers in the room, or former teachers. Yes.
I think that over the last few years, the system has been inundated with that kind of thinking, so the teachers are doing what they've been told to do. When I was a kid, if you had ADD, they had a yardstick in the principal's office that would, you would get healed of ADD. Okay? And I think there's a need for a lot more healing than just pop a pill. But a lot of times it's not because the teachers don't want to help, it's because they've been trained by the powers above them that when this happens, that means they have this or they have that, and they need to. So it's, the whole thing has kind of, everybody's been brainwashed.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yes, yes.
I was also thinking, we have these kids that are going into these schools, and everybody has a different learning method, whether you're visual or auditory or kinetic. Why can't we do some kind of test to figure out your learning method? That way we can match you to the right teacher, because then you're not having a class with 20 students that all 20 of them have different learning methods.
I knew a teacher that told her students at the beginning of the year, she says, if you can't learn from the way that I teach, then I will teach you from the way that you learn. And there are teachers, a lot of teachers don't really understand the different learning styles, and I know that because part of our job was to teach new teachers. And they had never, like even different behavior mods, or when it comes to suspension, the fact that there's due process, there's things that are supposed to be done before a child is suspended. But if parents don't know it, and sometimes teachers don't know, but again, they don't have the support.
Right.
They don't have the support. And it's easier, if your whole class is cutting up, it's easier to get rid of, get him out of here. Send him someplace for whatever reason. You might send him to the PE teacher. You might send them to the office, or you might just send them home. And send them home is not the cure. Yes.
And that's where you get a lot of the behavioral problems, is because their brains work differently, and the teachers don't know how to figure out how their brains work, so they're acting up because they're not getting the type of attention they need, plus they're not learning the way they're supposed to, and so they're acting up, so they're going to be sitting in the principal's office when they, in a sense, done nothing wrong.
I tell parents also, thank you, that once you know how your child receives and processes information, then it's good to introduce your child to the teacher at the beginning of the year. This is my child. Johnny is a visual learner. It's good to observe in a classroom. And observing is just watching, how the teacher teaches. And usually, parents and teachers, and parents are teachers, teach according to their strongest modality or learning style. If it's a visual learner, a visual teacher, they write. If they're auditory, they talk a lot. So and there's that touchy thing. But if a parent introduces the child to the teacher and becomes a partner with the teacher, then there's a better chance that that child is going to get taught differently. But we have to get the parents, and we have to get the parents where they are. Not expect them to come to the schools right away. So, and there's more to that. Yes.
And we're dealing with behavioral children. That's what I'm dealing with in Arizona. A lot of behavioral children, and there's one kid. A lot of them starving for affection. There's one kid.
Can everybody hear?
I can hear.
Okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he was about 15 years old, and he would get sent to my office. He'd get sent to me, and then I'd make my rounds and have to go because I was a behavioral coach. So I had to go into the classrooms, and I restrained him. Had to restrain him 3 times within maybe less than 15 minutes. And the last time I restrained him, I was holding him down, and I kicked his feet up from under him, and I sat down. I'm sitting down, and we're both sitting down. So I'm sitting down in the chair, he's on the floor, and I noticed something. He relaxed on my knees, and then I let him go, and he just stayed there. I said, man, stand up. And he stood up and looked me in the eye. I said, the next time you need a hug, just let me know. And he gave me a hug, and found out his mother stopped hugging him when he was 5 years old. He was about 5 years old. So there's a lot of kids that are acting out because they're starving for affection, and this is the way that they're getting it, by acting out.
That's right. And there are children who cut up at school. There are some children who cut up at school, but you can tell that they're just doing what they can get away with, but that they know better because they were taught better. Because we came from a very good, stable home, but sometimes we did little things. You know, I beat up a girl because she beat up my brother, and I was so scared that whole weekend. Every time I ran home after I hit her with a stick. I ran home, and I went into my room, because my room, you could see the back, and people would come to the back to knock on the door. So I practiced my clarinet, and I stayed back there because I was so scared. And then I practiced my violin, and I stayed back there. And in the school, Monday, when I went to school, the teacher told me, because the girl told on me, and they called home, and I got a whipping. My dad was good at leaving the phone off the hook so that they could hear that we were getting a whipping. And, but I got a whipping. And when I went back to school, my teacher said, well, Miss McGee, I guess your parents talked to you. I said, oh, I could barely sit down. I said, my mama doesn't care what I do. You know? But the principal knew. The principal know, and we know. We know. So, as your school board member, and please tell everybody, my concern is for the home school community partnership. And the faith community is a big part of that. And I established faith, community, and business leader programs on different campuses. And because the school, when schools, that's a great way to bring in resources. And I want to bring this, because when we're saying we don't have the resources, when you bring that group together for a breakfast meeting, and the teachers say, well, we need this, this, and this, and the students say we need, and the parents say we need, they start out trying to pledge each other, you know, and they wind up, like one meeting at Luther Burbank, the school board president was there, and he went back to that board meeting that night, because I always start with faith, community, leaders, and some people say, faith, and you can't do that, you can't. I don't care. I mean, because I know with God for you, who can be against you?
Yeah.
And so he said, I was at Burbank this morning, and I saw over $250,000 worth of goods and services being given to that school. And so now, shoot, who cares? Who cares if you have faith, community, and faith comes first? They don't care. Everybody wants it. And so, especially in the South, where people can freely say God bless you and Merry Christmas, it's not a problem. But the fact that it has not been established doesn't mean that it will not be established. And I can take the lead on that. And being a board member, and you know the budget, and you work with the Board of Supervisors, and I hope that Barbara Hancock, who I know is a strong Christian and an intelligent businesswoman, if Barbara gets in as boards of supervisor, and so just think about it and check her out. I was hoping she was going to come today, and I'm the school board member. I keep wanting to say president, school board representative for Callands-Gretna. We will be representing the same body of people.
Yes.
And they funnel the money to the school district, and it's for the right cause, then we can strengthen our homes, and that way we'll strengthen our children. We plant the seed that's going to grow the tree that's going to give us our shade in our old age. Yes, ma'am.
I'm glad you mentioned Ms. Hancock. You were at my church a couple of weeks ago, and then Ms. Hancock showed up at my house. And she ended up at the church, and she did mention you. And I wanted to know how you all were in this together.
Ah.
So I'm glad that you mentioned her. But and another thing is, I'm new to the area. I'm from Maryland, D.C. I don't have, all my children are grown, all my grandchildren are grown, and now I'm on great-grandchildren. But I'm home, retired, and bored.
Ooh. Okay.
I'd love to volunteer, in the school, and if someone could give me any information, I would love to. So I love children. I have 7 children, 29 grandchildren, and I think about 5 great-grandchildren. So I love children, but I am a disciplinarian.
And that's good. That's good.
Welcome.
Yes, yes. Hey, I was on campus, and we had just gotten a lot of furniture donated to us, and it was out in the area where the kids had lunch. And I came out of a meeting and was walking with the vice principal, and the kids, it was by the resource center, kids were sitting on the desk eating their lunch. And I was walking with her, and I said, can you believe those kids? And she said, yeah, but you can't say anything to them. You say something to them, they liable to cuss you out. I said, hey, baby, you better get your behind off of this, and you better clean that up. Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Royston. You know, if they know, you know, they know. You know, like some mothers will think, I've heard mothers say, well, they'll do everything their father says. It's something about a man's voice. And no, it's not. It's the tone. If your children know when you say something, you mean it. Men don't go through, mothers also, the kid, clean that up. You know, didn't I tell you to clean that up? Yeah. You don't want me to tell you again to clean that up. The kids know how many times you're going to say that before you mean anything, right?
Yeah, that's right.
See, they're saying, I'm scared looking at mama.
Number 3.
They know how many times. So that last time, when you come in, your tone of voice is different. You don't even have to say anything. They know. But they had all those, oh, that's the first time. Say, Dads come in with that last time, the first time. And that's all it is. You know? So that's just all it is. So what anyway, see, I get excited talking about families. Because what is life without families? And even, you know, I don't like to say broken families if there's one missing, because sometimes there's so much going on that's not good, especially in front of the children, that when that one leaves, what was broken becomes fixed. And then, and I don't like it when mothers say that I'm the mother and the father. It can't be the father. You know, and women, we can't teach boys how to be men. Right. So there have to be mentors, and men step up, and most men, you see a boy, they'll pull them in and they work with them, if it's a football or whatever. And so I'm just, I'm going to start rambling, but I want, because if you ever want a parent education program, call me, because that's what I do. And as a school board member, I am going to make sure that families are first. Because you can't, that's where the kids come from. You know, that's where the kids come from. The parents produce the product that produces the money that pays the bills. So that makes parents the most important, very important people. But if you act like you don't know, you get treated like you don't know. And this is the last thing I'll say about the cume folders. You know, there's the ed code, and I don't remember it. I don't know it for Virginia. But I always tell parents, you don't have to go in yelling, because if you go in and you ask to see your child's cume folder, you're going to be told, usually, well, you got to make an appointment, or we don't usually do that, or that's personal, or whatever. But if you quote the law, if the greatest teacher that ever walked the face of this earth, that's the way I say it when I'm in secular places, before Jesus made a valid statement, if he often said, according to the book of, or as it is written, and then people listen, and it means something. So when you go in and you ask for that cume folder, and they give you the rigmarole, and Daddy used to say that. I hadn't said that. They give you the runaround. You can say, oh, that's funny. According to Virginia Education Code number whatever, before you even finish, then they usually will go tell somebody to go get it, because all of a sudden, they don't know if they're talking to an attorney or if you got one in your pocket. Yeah. That's right. So, see, being empowered, you know, empowered to prosper. Being in information is power, you know, it's knowledge is power when it is applied. And so I will put in place with the help of others, and I know all of you, because when that time comes, if I get some pushback, and I shouldn't, because the only thing they can say is, well, we don't really have the money. Well, we're going to find it. Because things get misappropriated. I'm not saying anybody in the district puts anything where it's not supposed to be, but I'm going to find out where it is, and I always need a backup. So if I call you, something's about to happen, and I need you sitting out there. And don't be afraid. If you are, like we did, this is my sister, and this is the very last thing. I sound like a Baptist preacher. I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna sit down. And they say that, what, 3 times? But I'll say this. We were in a school district where our children were, and somebody came in and they stole all out of the central office, all of the computers, and they took everything out of there. And we had new, up-to-date, at that time, equipment. And so that night, Dr. Favors put together a flyer. She called me and she says, we have to get this back. You know, we can't let people steal from us. And so what we did, we had the flyers early that morning, and she already called the newspapers and the television stations and gave them the serial numbers, so in case they got ready to fence it. And we gave flyers, stacks of flyers to the garbage men, because they came by and we told them, look, we can't be letting people steal from our kids and take, and so we said, pass it out to everybody. So the garbage men were working. We went over to the projects, we knocked on the doors, and we told them that same thing. Sometimes you have to make people angry, you know, in order to get them to wake up. And like the kids now say, stay woke, you know. And so we went to all the doors and we told them we're gonna have a press conference at noon. Oh, well, I can't, what? I said, no, you can come. It's after One Life to Live and before all my children, you know. And I said, it's gonna be at the time when the news is on. And so all we want you to do is dress up, show up, look mad, and I'll talk. And that place was filled up. I called the company that did the alarms, and I told them, I said, look, there's going to be a press conference, and we need you all to be there. Oh, well, we don't generally do. I said, look, they're saying it's an inside job, and one of your people was, oh, they showed up. Yeah. And so the cameras, everybody was there, and guess what? We got all of our stuff back. That's what it takes. And as I come to a close, I just want to thank you all. This makes me feel so good, because you're all soldiers, you're all warriors, and you're all out there spreading the good news that, what did you say, Bruce? There's a new what? A new leader in town. All right. There you go. All right. I thank you. I thank you, Pastor. I thank you, Melvin. I thank you, Jackson.
Thank that young man that was out front. Oh, yes. Yes.
He was pulling people in?
Yes. He didn't know this was going on.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. And I thank you, Bruce. And I thank you, too. I thank you so much, son, for those words, the words that you shared, because you have been a joy to me. You've been a big help to me. And I heard Bruce tell a graduation class one time, and I sat there, and he was living elsewhere, and they flew him in to talk to that class. And I heard him say, if you have a dream, you don't let anybody, take that dream from you. He said they can talk about it and tell you can't do it. And he said that's because God, he said that is not their dream. God gave it to you, not to them. And they were told him, he said, when I was a kid, people always said, Bruce, what do you want to do when you grow up? He said, play with horses. And they said, no, you need to do some kind of work or whatever. All he saw himself doing was playing with horses. And so when he moved to Southern California, his dad tried to get him to get into drywall. But somebody came along with the horses, Jeff Wynell. And his dad told him, he says, Bruce, you need to have this skill. You need to do this. You're not going to ever make any money just playing with horses and dealing with horses. And so he told those children, he says, guess what? He says, every morning when I wake up, I look out my window at my horses. I go out there, I play with my horses. He says, I go all over the world playing with horses and doing what I want to do. He says, he says, you know how I got here? He said, they flew me here. I didn't pay my own way. They flew me here to talk to you because I'm real good playing with horses.
All right.
So whatever
Amen.
your dream is, and I'll say this too, this is a mother's not so much brag, but admiration too. Bruce called me, Bruce went to Holland, and he called me, in the early 2000s, and he says, Mama, he says, guess what? He says, when I got here, he says, they had magazines and all this, and they're interviewing me, and people knew all about me, and things that I've done. He says, and guess what else? He says, I'm the first American ever invited to Holland to show their horses. And that's a big deal.
All right.
That's a big deal.
Amen.
And I appreciate the humility, because no people can't tell. I mean, my son and grandsons, they're world champion equestrians, and they're they just help me running around. And Bruce, I'm saying all this because I appreciate the fact that he had a job offer. They were going to fly him out and pay him a whole lot of money every day to do whatever it is they needed to have done with the horses.